The process for a forest owner for making an application for afforestation is first they want to make contact with a registered forester who would make an application on their behalf, and maybe before they even go to that registered forester have an idea of what kind of forest they may want, whether it's a conifer forest, a broadleaf forest, or a mixed conifer broadleaf forest.
When we talk about site selection, I suppose it's all about planting the right tree in the right place. So it's important to match the tree species with the soil type to ensure that the tree will grow and develop in the right environment.
On the good agricultural land that I used to plant forestry, the trees have grown exceptionally well.
So when a registered forester makes an application to the department for an afforestation licence, the inspector receives the Form 1 application and all the maps and other information that goes with it, and then we process that. We run different environmental checks on that. We do a site visit to make sure that the land is suitable for afforestation and that it won't have any adverse environmental effects. We then approve it. Financial approval is issued.
What we do is closer to tillage than forestry. We grow the trees all from seed, and all the trees are supplied bare root, so everything we grow is in open fields. A lot of the native seeds we collect ourselves and process ourselves ready for seed sowing. Seed sowing begins in April, May, and most species are grown for either 2 or 3 years on our nursery. Conifer species are mainly for 3 years, and broadleaves are mainly a 2-year crop. So we have to get the ground cultivated, ploughed, cultivated, everything is sown on beds. The beds have to be made up, and then they use various fertilisers, and then you sow the seed, and then you have to grow the seed the same as any tillage crop, and then the crop is actually left in situ in the ground for the lifetime of that's on the nursery for 2 to 3 years. So when the crops are ready, they have to be lifted and graded. So every tree is handled physically, graded by hand, packaged ready for dispatch. The lifting season starts in November and it finishes in March. So the planting, because the trees are planted bare root, they have to be dormant when they're actually planted. So that's why it begins in November, when the trees are going to sleep for the winter. And this planting season is in November, as I say, to March, but this can be extended by using cold storage. So the trees are lifted when they're dormant in January, February, put into cold store, and then you're fooling the trees that it's still winter. And this can extend the season up to May or June. But as I say, our main season is from November to March, with a limited amount of planting going on into May and June. When we're growing the trees, broadleaves are 2 years, they tend to be quicker in the nursery, and the conifers are as a 3-year. But the main size categories would be from say 30 to 60 centimetres or from 60 centimetres and over, depending on the site and depending on the species. Some species do better planted smaller and give them time to get going. Other species you put in that bit bigger, or if it was a sheltered site you might use bigger plants. Or if you're going back in, say, replacing some plants that failed, you might use bigger plants. So when we're grading the plants, we grade them first of all for quality, to make sure there's no damage, but we also grade them into sizes, so that we'd be grading from say 30 to 60 centimetres, 60 to 90 centimetres, and 90 to 120 for the bigger broadleaves.
We plant with machines, which is a bit more cost effective. You'd need good, fairly dry conditions for it, but it's a very good, does a very good job. And you'd have 4 or 5 men usually with the planting machine, 2 on the planting machine, and you'd have a man driving it, and a man walking after it just to see if there are any trees not planted properly or straighten it up, and keeping trees to the planting machine. It's a very fast way of planting if you're planting big acreage like. So it's hard enough now to get fellas with a spade to plant, you know. The other planting then would be either mounded or rip. So the mounded is probably the better one. Trees grow better on it. It's easier planted and it's easier maintain it. Track digger, dig up the ground and put 2 rows on either side. Normally 2x2s, or if it's broadleaf to be 2x1.5. So basically what you'll have to do is carry 100 bags with you, run along, get a spade, pair of gloves, hard boots, and plant a tree on every mound and tighten it down reasonably hard with your foot. Don't just drop your foot, give it a good shot, tighten it down firm and catch it. If it's not well anchored in the ground, like, it'll blow away with the wind, like, and so you basically plant 1,000 to 1,500 in a day, good planting, you know what I mean, and plant them right, like.
Next stage to look at then would be your stocking for approval, and this would be another stage in the application process where it's Form 2, where after planting. So for example, if you have an oak plantation, you need to have 3,300 stems per hectare, or if it's a Sitka spruce, a Norway spruce plantation, it's 2,500 stems per hectare.
And then when the foresters finish the planting, they send back in a Form 2, which means the inspector will go out, they'll inspect your site, make sure that the stocking is correct, the fencing is correct, that gates are up to exclude animals, and then the grant aid is then approved. So the grant, the costs of the afforestation is covered by the department. So at year 1, we pay 3/4 of the money. So when we receive the Form 2 and the forest is being inspected, we release the grant to the forest owner, who pays everyone else then. So at year 4 then, Form 3 is issued from the department, and the forester goes to the forest owner, and if they're happy that the land or the forest has been maintained and the trees are free grown from weeds, and that the stocking is at least 90% of 2,250 for conifers and 3,300 for broadleaves, they sign a Form 3, it comes into the department. Again, an inspection is taken place by an inspector within the department. And if we're happy that all the works it has been maintained over the 4 years and is free growing, we'll issue the 1/4 of the grant money that's left.